Keeper Vicky, and welcome to The Young and the Flightless, a web series about the tales of our penguin colony here at the Akron Zoo. Some of our penguins prefer specific keepers. In fact, you've probably noticed those behaviors if you've ever seen keeper-penguin interactions out on the habitat. And even though we really shouldn't play favorites, us keepers have our favorite penguins too. When we have chicks, all of them are parent-raised. Their parents take care of them 24/7. We will take them out of their burrows every other day to get weights to make sure they're growing just fine, but we're very hands-off with them. So it's when they reach about 50 days old that's when we get involved, because we will move them from the burrows to our indoor bedroom spaces to be able to get them eating on their own and then eventually swimming on their own when they have lost all their downy baby feathers and get their juvenile waterproof feathers in. And during that time, we will sit and socialize with them because we want them to get used to be able to hand feed from us. It helps with tours when we want the birds to interact with the guests that come behind the scenes. And I mean, it just helps to be able to do, health checks and kennel them if we need to move them anywhere. So it's just a best practice. Everybody has their own personality. Even though we don't do anything different with any of the chicks we have raised over the years, we have had a few that I consider my penguin boyfriends because they will follow me everywhere. They get very excited to see me. They will recognize me in street clothes if I'm out on the public side of the habitat on a day I'm not working. And if I'm gone, especially if it's more than just a weekend, they will generally come running over to see me when I greet them in the morning. The first one was Zulamar, and one of his favorite things is he did have a penguin girlfriend as well, but he was still super friendly with me. And one cool thing that he let me do is he had a preference for kind of very flat rocks that's what he would prefer to take into his burrow for his nest. So if I would go through our stockpile of rocks and find the flat ones, when he would come back and see me, I could hand him a rock, he would take it in his beak, he would run, he would put it in his kennel, he would come back and see me to get another rock. And that was like a routine thing we would do. That he didn't want the car wash strips or the fire hose pieces, he wanted flat rock. Being the good girlfriend that I would dig through our rocks and find all the ones that I knew he would like, and that's how he would build his burrow every year. And then we had Beast a few years later that was Zulamar's son, and he kind of inherited a very similar personality where he was, friendly towards me. He kind of took it up a level and would actually be kind of a jealous boyfriend around me if there were other keepers in the space, or even with other penguins that he felt the need to protect me from anybody else in the space. And one kind of special thing with Beast, since we had such a good relationship, I was able to train him to wear a harness, and we would come down to some of the classrooms to do educational program. That it was actually kind of a really cool thing that I was allowed to have control, but he could kind of explore the people in the space that we were in. And it was a good experience for people to see penguins even more up close than they can in our habitat. And he was very much a rock star at that behavior, but it was something that took time and patience because it's not a normal behavior for a penguin to wear a harness, but there was enough trust between us that, that's something we were able to accomplish. And now my boyfriend is Rico, and he's one that if you are at the zoo and you see me interacting with the penguin on habitat, it's usually him because he follows me everywhere. If I step off the habitat into the ante area, he will follow me in there. He's one that if I show any attention to any other penguin on habitat, even if it's just to, kind of move them out of the way if I'm stepping over them when I'm hosing, or they're coming up and being friendly and I want to, reward that behavior and give them some attention back, he will come racing over and just kind of push his way in between me and the other penguin because heaven forbid anybody else have my attention. So then I have to kind of split the difference, give him the attention so he doesn't get aggressive like a jealous boyfriend can, but also reward the other penguin for the good behavior. And it's one of those things where when the public sees it, it cracks them up and they want to know what's going on. And I'm like, no, he's just super protective of me and very friendly. And again, he didn't get raised any different than any of our other chicks during that weaning and swimming period, but he's just very attached to me for whatever reason. Sometimes the penguins pick their favorite keeper, and even the colony as a whole can act differently depending on what keeper is working the routine that day. And one prime example of individuals that acted like that were Beast and Bibby. So Beast was very attached to me, and Bibby was very attached to another keeper named Kristen. The problem being that while they each behaved really well for their respective keeper, sometimes they would be the complete opposites to the opposite keeper. One example I remember is Kristen and I were both standing out on habitat. We were standing 4 or 5 feet apart, and Beast was at my feet, Bibby was at Kristen's feet, and then all of a sudden Bibby just walked over to me and started wing slapping me for no reason other than I was talking to Kristen and paying attention to Kristen, and Bibby apparently didn't like that. And there were instances where Beast would do the same thing to her even if I wasn't there, just he would be a little bit of a bratty little kid around her sometimes, and it was just the funniest thing that while they behaved really well around her and I, when they could just be the complete opposite if their preferred keeper was not in the area. And it's just, you never know with penguins that, we pick our favorites sometimes and they pick their favorites as well.